Donald Trump has never been one to shy away from controversy, but his latest idea might be one of the most shocking yet. During a recent rally, Trump floated the idea of using El Salvador-style mega prisons known for its harsh conditions to detain undocumented immigrants entering the U.S. It's a proposal that's ignited a firestorm of debate across political, legal, and human rights circles. So what exactly is Trump proposing? Is this even legal, and would it actually work, or is it just political theater taken to the extreme? This idea has raised serious questions about its legality, morality, and practicality. Is it a bold strategy to tackle crime, or is it a reckless and unconstitutional move? Let's break it down. What is the El Salvador prison plan? The Trump administration has been exploring a deal with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele to send immigrants accused of crimes, particularly those labeled as gang members, to CCOT. This mega prison, built to house gang members in El Salvador, is known for its extreme conditions, including limited access to sanitation, food, and medical care. Since March 2025, the U.S. has reportedly sent over 200 immigrants, mostly Venezuelans, to this facility under a $6 million agreement, with plans to allocate up to $15 million for detaining more deportees. Trump has also floated the idea of sending homegrown criminals, U.S. citizens convicted of violent crimes, to El Salvador's prisons. During a meeting with Bukele in April 2025, Trump suggested building more prisons to accommodate American prisoners, calling U.S. citizens who commit violent crimes monsters who could be deported. This proposal has alarmed legal experts, civil rights groups, and even some politicians who argue it's both illegal and dangerous. Why is this plan being considered? The Trump administration argues that the plan targets dangerous gang members, particularly those linked to groups like Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang accused of crimes in the U.S., by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a rarely used wartime law. Trump has justified deporting immigrants without due process, claiming they pose a threat to national security. The administration sees El Salvador as a willing partner, given Bukele's tough-on-crime policies and his success in reducing gang violence in his country. Supporters of the plan, including some Republican lawmakers, believe it sends a strong message to criminals and reduces the burden on U.S. prisons and immigration detention centers. They point to Bukele's mega prison as a model for controlling crime, with some, like West Virginia Representative Riley Moore, praising it after visiting CCOT. The legal concerns: is it even allowed? The legality of Trump's plan is a major sticking point. Legal experts across the board have called it problematic, especially when it comes to deporting U.S. citizens. The U.S. Constitution and federal laws provide strong protections for citizens, including the right to due process and the prohibition of exile. Sending citizens to foreign prisons would likely violate these rights. Ilya Somin, a law professor at George Mason University, noted that a federal law Trump signed in his first term requires prisoners to be held within 500 miles of their homes. El Salvador is far beyond that limit. For immigrants, the situation is also murky. The Alien Enemies Act allows the president to deport citizens of enemy nations during wartime, but using it in peacetime to target Venezuelans or others has been challenged in court. The Supreme Court recently paused some deportations, citing concerns about due process. The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man wrongly deported to CCOT despite legal protections, highlights the risks. His deportation was called a clerical error, yet the administration has resisted bringing him back, prompting lawsuits and outrage. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and other groups argue that deporting anyone, citizen or immigrant, to a foreign prison like CCOT is a legal non-starter. They warn that once individuals are sent abroad, U.S. courts have limited power to intervene, leaving them in a legal black hole. human rights, and prison conditions. Beyond legality, the plan raises serious human rights concerns. CECOT is notorious for its brutal conditions. Inmates are often denied access to visitors, education, or recreation, and reports document food shortages, inadequate sanitation, and even torture. A 2022 U.S. State Department report criticized El Salvador's prisons for these issues, and critics argue that sending people there is inhumane. The case of Merlin Gutierrez, a 19-year-old Venezuelan deported to Seacoast, despite having no criminal record, underscores the risks. His lawyer argued he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, yet he was sent to a prison meant for violent gang members. A CBS report found that 75% of Venez-Marcupuan deportees sent in March 2025 had no apparent criminal history, raising fears of mass deportations targeting innocent people. El Salvador's high incarceration rate and Buckle's state of exception, which suspends constitutional rights, add to the concerns. Critics like journalist Jordana Timerman argue that Trump is outsourcing human rights abuses to a foreign government, making it harder for U.S. courts to oversee the treatment of deportees. Public and political reactions. The plan has divided opinions. Some conservative voices, like those on X, celebrate it as a tough stance on crime. A White House post on X claimed the administration has deported over 200 suspected gangbangers to Seacoast, framing it as a success. However, others, including immigration expert Aaron Reichlin-Melnick, argue there's no legal basis for paying another country to imprison people, calling it outright illegal. Democrats like Senator Chris Van Hollen have been vocal critics. Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador to meet Abrego Garcia and pushed for his return, accusing the Trump administration of violating due process. Civil liberties groups such as the ACLU have filed lawsuits to stop the deportations, while legal scholars like Harvard's Lawrence Tribe warn that the plan could set a dangerous precedent, making anyone vulnerable to being kidnapped by the government and sent abroad. Is it lunacy or a legitimate strategy? Supporters see the plan as a creative way to deter crime and manage immigration, leveraging El Salvador's strict prison system to keep dangerous individuals out of the U.S. They argue that Bukele's success in curbing gang violence makes him a reliable partner. However, the overwhelming consensus among legal experts is that the plan is unconstitutional, especially for U.S. citizens, and risks violating international human rights standards. Critics call it lunacy for several reasons. It bypasses due process, targets people without evidence, and outsources punishment to a prison known for abuses. The case of Abrego Garcia, who was deported despite court orders, shows how the plan can harm innocent people. The Supreme Court's intervention and ongoing lawsuits suggest the plan is on shaky legal ground, and public outcry is growing over its ethical implications. What happens next? The future of Trump's El Salvador prison plan is uncertain. The Supreme Court's recent rulings halting some deportations signal that courts are willing to step in. However, the administration's defiance, such as refusing to bring back Abrego Garcia, shows it may push forward regardless. Legal battles will likely continue, and public pressure could influence the outcome. For now, the plan remains a lightning rod for debate. It raises fundamental questions about how far a government can go to enforce immigration and crime policies, and whether those policies respect the rule of law. As the situation unfolds, the balance between security, legality, and human rights will be at the forefront. Whether you see it as a necessary deterrent or a dangerous descent into authoritarianism, Trump's prison plan sparks one undeniable truth. It's forcing America to confront the boundaries of law, ethics, and the future of immigration policy. The question isn't just, can we do this? It's, should we? What do you think? Is this a bold new strategy or political lunacy? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from all sides. If you found this video insightful, give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most controversial headlines. Thanks for watching and stay curious.